Yo, what's going on, guys? Twitter, or X rather, has been blowing up the past few days over a whole homework argument, and people coming down on both sides of the aisle around this idea that kids should or should not be doing homework. And for the record, I think for ages K to 12, children should not be doing homework outside of your very odd, end of semester or end of year project. But this night-to-night homework stuff has to end. And I'm going to use a bunch of tweets that people made as evidence for that. And I want you to really think long and hard about the conditioning that we've had since our childhood around homework and the necessity, apparent necessity for homework, why we've been told that, and is there possibly a way forward in which children don't have to do homework and will still not only maintain their grade levels, but actually have better grades, have a better life, have a better social network, and all that good stuff. So let's go and take a look at some of the tweets, and particularly the one that ignited this whole conversation. Okay, so here's the offending tweet by Catherine. And I want to start, before I even get into all of the replies and all of the quote tweets, I want to start by saying, by all accounts, Catherine is a good woman. She's a great headmistress at her school in the UK. She has helped many thousands of kids improve their life. But on this issue of homework, I think she is categorically wrong. She's mistaken. She has an outdated idea of the purpose and the value of homework and what it subliminally conditions children to believe about their free time and about their spare time outside of school or outside of work. Okay, I want to preface all this with that because I think Catherine ultimately is a good woman and her direction in life is pointed in the right direction in terms of helping children. Okay, so let's get into it. The offending tweet says schools finish about 3:30. Yes. And your kids go to bed about 10 p.m., some later. But the idea of an hour of homework is horrifying. Out of 6.5 hours, you can't find the time for an hour's homework. First of all, when is it ever just an hour's homework? Most days it's not just an hour's homework, and I believe that we have these studies to actually prove this. It's much longer than this, but be that as it may, let's take a look at some of the responses to this, which overwhelmingly, and this is a great thing to see, we're disagreeing with Catherine. I think people have finally, the brainwashing around the necessity for homework is finally ending, and I've not pulled any punches here in thinking that that's a good thing. So let's start with my own reply. The time is there. It's just better spent doing other things like playing, reading, doing art, making meals, going outside, being with friends and family, deep diving into the child's interests. Outside of the odd end of semester project, homework should be abolished. Not mincing words there. My friend Guru Anaerobic always disagreed with homework. Occasional projects are okay. But if a school can't teach a child what they need to know in 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, one has to wonder about the quality of the teaching. Yes, and the quality of how days are structured as well. There's a few more here that I want to read. Karate one night, keyboard lessons one night, guitar lessons another night, swimming lessons one night, music theory lesson one night, a remedial maths class Saturday morning, extra geography lesson. When exactly do you want the homework to happen? This is a great point. A lot of children have extracurricular activities. And she kind of comes back with a cheeky answer. Karate is 6 hours. No, it's not. But the process of getting to karate, the process of having a meal before and after karate, having a shower afterward, all these things, karate might only be an hour, but everything surrounding it is multiple hours. And you should not sacrifice your child doing extracurriculars, particularly extracurriculars that involve physical activity. And I say particularly that because of the obesity and epidemic that's infecting our kids right now. You shouldn't be prioritizing homework outside of school hours for fitness. LOL at homework only taking an hour. Yeah, exactly. There was one more here I think that I want to read. Homeschoolers get done in 3 hours a day and still outperform traditional schools. Seem like you should be able to teach what they need to know in the 7 hours they're at school. No. Yeah, exactly. That's what so many people are making, the point that they're making. Zach Hummel says, homework teaches children that overtime is acceptable, even normal. Work or go to school 8 hours a day, then do more in your free time. On our deathbed, we will wish to have this time back. No one's last words. So glad I did all that homework and worked all that overtime. Homework and overtime are a product of a society that values materials and money over connection and relationships. To add to Zach's point here, and I actually did make I commented on what he said. There's nothing to suggest that more homework equals better grades, better career, better life. It's baseless. It's baseless and it's hurtful. I also saw a stat that crushed me, absolutely crushed me, that said, and I'll pull it up on screen here if I can find it when I edit this video, that by the time your child is like 18, or maybe is it 12 or is it 18, you've spent 75% of your time with them that they're going to spend with you in their entire life. So you're telling me that 3/4 of the time, I only have a very short window that's going to take up 3/4 of the time that I have with my child, and that they should be sitting after hours, after they've already gone to school, at a desk or at the kitchen table doing more homework? Forget about it. I'd rather their grades suffer, apparently, and spend quality time with my child. Matt Walsh says, you have the kids for 6 to 7 hours a day. If they still have work to do at the end of the day, that's the school's fault. Be more efficient. Use the time better. When kids are out of school, it should be family time. Are you noticing a pattern here in the complaints that people have? Sorry, why is it that you're with my kid for 6, 7, 8 hours a day and you're still not able to fit their lessons in that time frame? Seems like that's a you problem, not a problem that my child or my family now has to deal with by sacrificing our time together. Simon Saris, homeschoolers outperform regular schools, and many, including my wife, routinely finish before noon. Schools finish at 3:30 because they are trying to combine daycare with learning, not because they use the hours well. Why give them even more time? Such a great point by Simon. By and large, all the homeschoolers that I follow and I read and I listen to on podcasts and watching YouTube videos, their work day is 3 to 4 hours, maybe at most 4 hours, but that even seems long. They're very efficient with their time. And I think that it should be noted that the reason why that school day goes as long as it does is so parents can also stay at work longer. And yes, it acts as a daycare for parents to have both parents in the workforce. These are not random. These are not mistakes or glitches or in the system. This is intentional. Seamus says, school starts at 9, yes. So the kid's with you 6 hours a day, but the idea of getting through your entire lesson plan before you send them home is horrifying. When the child is finally home, you want them to do your job for you. Yeah. Visikan says, every hour I spent on homework was, for me personally, an unconscionable waste of time. I could not agree more. When I was at home, I wanted to be playing baseball. I wanted to be playing street hockey. I wanted to be riding my bike. I wanted to be with my friends. I wanted to go see family. I wanted to do all those things. The last thing I ever wanted to do was do more work at the end of the day. Dr. Dad, I really like this take because he didn't want to do this. A lot of my friends are dunking on this. I want to dunk on this. But Birbal Singh actually runs a very successful school, so I'll defer to her on how to do things at that school. I will say that a lot of my high school experience involved 4 different teachers doing this calculation, each separately coming to the conclusion that an hour of homework was reasonable. The combined homework load wasn't reasonable. And that's something great to take into consideration, that the person assigning you homework isn't just one person. It's many different teachers assigning you 30 minutes to an hour worth of homework every night, which then becomes 2, 3, 4 hours of homework on top of the 6, 7, 8 hours you already spent in school, right? This is crazy. This is insane that we're expecting this of children and then wondering, I wonder why their social skills are lacking. I wonder why they're not performing well in school. I wonder why they have no ambition to do the homework that we send them home with. All of this is just seems so obvious when you say it aloud. And to Dr. Dad's point, she does appear to run a very successful school, and I don't want that to be lost, right? So there is merit to things that Catherine says. She's not a lunatic. Droid Mom says, my kids don't get home until 4:15 and goes to bed at 9. So she only has 4.75 hours. She has therapy and gymnastics some nights. Then we have to make dinner, and she has to sit down and eat it. Afterwards, she has to shower, get ready for bed, pick her clothes out for the next day, pick out her snacks for the next day, and any other chores. An hour of homework every night is actually awful. Yes, because you are now telling kids that they should ignore domestic duties and duties to their family and instead continue to focus on purely on their education. And by the way, domestic duties are education. So let's not, there's a lot of children out there right now that don't know how to make a bed. They don't know how to cook their own meals. They don't know how to properly, wash dishes. They don't know how to fold clothes or iron clothes. These, try telling me that these are any less important than trigonometry. Okay, you're not going to convince me of that. The problem isn't the homework. It's that most schools are grossly inefficient. Yes, again, continuing along with this pattern. They take 6 to 7 hours of a kid's day, typically accomplish very little, then demand more for actual work at home. Homework isn't inherently bad, but it's problematic that the average school needs it. So those are all the tweets that I wanted to read to you today. Please, please, please tell me that this little bubble on Twitter/X isn't actually a bubble, that people in the greater society, people that aren't on X every day, are thinking the same things, are thinking that how is it possible that these kids go to school for 6, 7, 8 hours a day and come home and still have more work to do? I mean, think about it, right? Like, already our kids are overweight, they're in desks all day, they're sitting under fluorescent lights. Sometimes the classrooms are very hot or very cold, they're inadequate. We're using a schooling system that was designed in the 1800s, maybe even a little bit before that. It's totally outdated in the way that it teaches children. There's so many things, not to mention that in these schools, there's so much social anxiety happening with these children for many various reasons, violence, mental health issues. All that is to say that the last thing that these kids want to do is come home and continue to think about school. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't. The idea that they should is insane. And it's just making them good little worker bees that are going to obediently work overtime hours and spend less time with their family and with their friends and derive all of their purpose and their meaning from what their boss assigns to them. And I think that is just such a horrible way to structure society. I think it's such a horrible way to condition kids for what to expect out of the real world. But that's just me. That's just me, and I might be wrong. And I would love to hear your take on all of this. Thanks for watching. And if this ignited you in any way, shape, or form, please do share it with friends, family, and people who are subscribed to your channels. Take care.